Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies. Time for another Oh No Hour. OB out on assignment, quote unquote. It's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour is presented by the warehouse at CC Creations. And right now, currently hanging out in the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. Check out investinprosports.com if you want them to help you find a pro sports franchise to invest in. They do a lot of other things, but you can do that to start things off. All right, let's start talking about the baseball game last night, because I think there's several storylines to consider. First off, they win 13-6 against Lamar. But Ben Arroyo had a career night. And Caden Sorrell, how about that? 2 home runs on the day. I know whatever they did yesterday would not really erase the weekend and also looking ahead at LSU, but they are able to, first off, they were up 10-1 and it felt like it was going to be over. Then a little bit of a Lamar comeback made it a little more interesting than expected. And then Michael Early gets tossed in that one. So we'll be talking about it. If you want to be a part of the conversation, 979-693-1150. That is the Butt Beast Catering hotline. You can text that number. You can call that number. Nick, I'm going to ask you, did you see Coach Early get ejected, and what did you think as I worked my way back to the desk?
I did not. I watched most of that game, and I turned it off in about the 7th inning when, like you mentioned, everything looked in hand. And then, I understand reading Richard's tweets that it was partially the same crew that was officiating the game on, or at least the series in Austin. So, he picked his spot, and according to Bronny's tweet, he won't even be suspended for this series this weekend. So, I mean, why not voice a little displeasure? You still get to coach in the games coming up this weekend.
I like you. This shouldn't surprise you, Nick. I enjoy not necessarily ejections, right? Because that's. But I love fire. I love passion, and we got to see a little bit of that yesterday. Obviously, Coach Early feeling much more comfortable in his role to be able to blow up like that, especially considering what happened, earlier, just a few minutes before that. So, as I mentioned, Caden Sorrell, a couple home runs, 436 feet and 403 feet, and Brad Rudis was really, really excellent in that one. So now they got to go take care of business, right? They got to host an LSU team that's hot, playing great, and A&M's got to get off the floor when you consider what happened last weekend. The Lamar game, to me, was not going to make us feel any way. If they would have lost that game yesterday at the end because of the bullpen, I don't think Twitter would have responded, right? But I don't think I would. It doesn't change the way I look at this team. And in a way, Billy brought this up on Monday. That series against Texas just doesn't feel right, but it doesn't change what I think about them if they're able to make the postseason. Very similar to what I thought about the basketball team. To me, the basketball team was, when Buzz's last stand, if you will, whoever they match up against is going to be, are they able to hit shots, and can they close out? They weren't able to do it in the second round, right? They were not able to stop Michigan when they were up. That's the way this team played all season long. They went on these cold stretches, right? For this baseball team, there isn't one thing you can point at that they've done really bad. It's been at this point of the season, the defense. At this point, no offense. At this point, the starting pitching. Right now, this past weekend, the starting pitching was great. The offense struggled a bit. And now we'll see what happens against LSU. So it doesn't change the way I look at the postseason at all. I want to bring something up from yesterday because we had Jake Crane on the show from Crane and Company, and he talked about Marcel Reed, talking about how Marcel scares opposing defenses, right? And that is 100% fact. You look at a lot of the quarterbacks in the SEC, a lot of unproven talent outside of Lenore Sellers, Nuss. Like, there's a lot of unproven talent in the SEC. Marcel is in that, still hasn't proven himself, but has shown this very high category of what he can be. But the thing that Crane was talking about was there's a couple areas of concern that he has for Marcel, but the couple areas that he is not concerned about is that because he is so elusive with his legs, he can extend plays, make defenders miss. He turns these broken plays into positive situations, into a second and long becomes a third and short, or potentially even a first down. His ability to do that, and he's got home run potential with plays that can go 70-plus yards, right? So that's and this is from Jake Crane's perspective, and I'm going to get to where it all kind of fits in this huge narrative about where Marcel ranks with quarterbacks, right? And then you consider what I'll continue it with Jake Crane. What Jake said yesterday was that Marcel needs to be better with his not trying to be a brilliant pocket passer at all times, recognizing what his skill set is, and when it's not there, be okay to run. Sometimes he did force the ball quite a bit. So those are the areas that Jake was focused on when it comes to Marcel. But when you look at what Coach Elko said at the beginning of spring, what Coach Klein said at that first press conference where he was able to speak, they are identifying areas where he can maximize his ability to use his skill set, right? And matching the offense to that. We didn't see that very much in the spring game, but you weren't expecting to see that. So considering all those things and where a national correspondent in Jake Crane considered where Marcel Reed was, we're going to play the game of where does Saturday Down South see Marcel Reed? Nick, we kind of did this with OB yesterday. I'm going to bring it up to you. Where do you, who was it? Was it CBS Sports yesterday that I asked OB where I thought they would rank Marcel? I'm going to ask you, where do you think Saturday Down South, our buddy Connor O'Gara, has Marcel Reed?
I'm going to say in the top 8.
Top 8.
Top 8.
Are you stopping at 8? Are you stopping at 7? Could he be number 2? Could he be number 5? What do you think?
I think the high is probably 3. This isn't my opinion. This is Connor O'Gara, I'm guessing. The high is going to be 3. I'd say the floor is below 10 somewhere. My guess is where he's going to put him.
All right. Well, I'm going to start going.
All right.
I'm going to start at 16 and work my way down, okay?
Sounds good.
And when we get to Marcel, maybe he's 16. Maybe he's 2. Maybe he's in the middle. I know where he is, but I'm not going to tell you yet. And if you're Googling as we speak, that kind of defeats the purpose.
No, I'm not. I'm just ready to play graphics.
Okay. I'm not saying that's the audience. I want the audience to stay with us.
Oh, gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
Number 16, a gentleman we all know very well, Zach Calzada.
Love it.
I want him to be higher. I like Zach. Part of the Cuban community. We go to the meetings together. And but it says here, the thing that's in the way Connor kind of describes these quarterbacks is he says a line about what concerns him about each one. And he says in his first line, a guy who fell out of favor at 2 SEC programs, now at his 3rd SEC school. So that's what he says about him. So Zach Calzada at 16. Number 15, Joey Aguilar. Remember him? He's the one who came from UCLA after Nuño went to UCLA.
Yeah, so that's brand new.
Brand new, right? Within days. So I wonder where they would have been without the addition of Joey Aguilar. Would they have been at 16? Would they have flip-flopped? Bo Prabula with Mizzou is 14 also. The new quarterback was at Penn State. 13, Jackson Arnold. Okay?
That's surprisingly low, I think.
Well, considering where he initially was targeted, the thing that concerns him about Jackson Arnold, there were 19 SEC quarterbacks who attempted at least 15 passes that were 20 yards downfield, and among them, Arnold ranked 19th. So that's not good. Number 12, another name we know, Blake Shapen, for different reasons. He was at Mississippi State before he got hurt, and then you know what happened. He lost his gig. Michael Van Buren took over there. So 11, you're going to be surprised at this one, I think. Gunnar Stockton.
Why would I be surprised at that? He hasn't really played that much. So
he hasn't, but he's a Georgia quarterback, and typically we inflate top programs because of, like, I know when Stetson Bennett was getting some of the hate, he was not outside of the top 10, though. I think people
I agree. He was a top 10 quarterback, but I don't mind him putting him outside the top 10. I mean, he hasn't played enough for me to be like, oh, yeah, he's going to be. I can, and I know Arch Manning's probably going to be in the top 3, but you could say the same thing about Arch Manning, in my opinion, but continue.
All right. Number 10, Ty Simpson.
Same kind of deal. Just I don't mind him being that low. Don't know anything about him. Hadn't played too much.
What I appreciate about this list so far, though, is that, and Connor sometimes comes after A&M, right? And I'm not saying he's coming after him here, but like these quarterbacks that are outside the top 10, there's a reason for it. They're unproven. They haven't done much, right? Number 9, John Mateer out of Oklahoma.
Who?
John Mateer.
Who?
John Mateer. Yeah, he's actually a very highly coveted quarterback out of high school. Number 8, do you think we get to Marcel here?
We're in the range for sure, but no, I'm going to say he's higher.
Taylon Green.
Okay, that's fair.
Number 7, do you think we get to Marcel here?
I'm going to say he's going to be 6.
Wow, you Googled. Number 7, Austin Simmons, Ole Miss.
Okay.
The thing that concerns him about him is the same thing I love about Simmons. He delivered the most important drive of Ole Miss this season in relief, injured Jackson Dart. It's the same thing that gives me pause about him. It's possible we're overrating him for the simple reason that he looked incredibly poised in a high-pressure situation in his first college career, first appearance in college career. So you could almost say the same thing about Marcel Reed, who does come in at number 6.
Told you. I swear I didn't look. I have the list pulled up, but you can ask everyone back here. I was scrolling as we went.
Zach Reese behind you said you cheated. I saw him say that.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's what happened.
But yeah, 6, Marcel. I like it.
Okay, and this is, I think, a very fair criticism, concerning point about him. As a passer, Reed didn't look like someone who had figured it out yet. There were 16 SEC quarterbacks who attempted at least 20 passes that traveled 20 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, and Reed ranked 15th with a 27.8% adjusted completion percentage. So the things we've been talking about, he wants to be, what was it, a 69% passer? These are the things we're talking about, these middle throws, these 20-yard and beyond throws. He's got to get more accurate of that, and he addressed it himself in a press conference. This is one of the areas of concerns with him, and for him to take that step. But if you tell me Marcel Reed is a top 6 quarterback in the SEC, that's a 9-win team. Dun, dun, dun.
Good morning. Yes, 9-win team.
Top 6 quarterback in the SEC. That's the 9-win team.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Am I like?
You're probably going to win.
There's no real metric that says, hey, if you're this, you're that, right? But like in my mind, if he is performing at a top 6 clip in the SEC, right? And think about some of the programs I just talked about. And we had him, at number 5 yesterday in that other list that I talked about, right? So if he's at number 6, let's talk. I mean, that is obviously, that gives you some, the issues that A&M had last year were not quarterback related, right? But if you look at what he did against Texas, there was no offense in that game. And then there were games that they had offense, like the Auburn game, but the offense came late after, falling in a 21-point hole. So I'll finish out the top 5. Diego Pavia, number 5.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
Playmaker, but
I'm curious how he does in year 2 like, he's not
the guy
like surprising people. Arch Manning, number 4.
Okay. Out of the top 3, that's a little surprising.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of the national media has him in that top 3 SEC. Heck, they're probably ready to put him number 1. I saw a mock draft the other day from Pro Football Focus of 2026, and they had Arch Manning going number 1 overall. To guess who of all teams? The Browns.
No way. They would be like their 12th quarterback in 2 years.
I know.
This is what it says about Arch. The thing that concerns me most is, besides the fact that he has 2 career starts game against teams that Texas was expected to beat by 100, he only attempted 16 passes under pressure last season. He also took 7 sacks in those spots compared to 3 scrambles. I think that is a wonderful stat from Connor. I think Arch is going to be I think he's going to be really good, and I agree with what people have said that the Manning family handled his recruitment / tenure so far at Texas with class and elegance, and like they've done it the right way. But if you are you're allowed to ask questions, and those are like, we haven't seen him do much. We've seen him in like these points where he comes in as like a relief pitcher for a quick second, and he comes right back out, right? So number 3, DJ Lagway. Okay, I think that is certainly the potential to be number 3. But I'm going to continue to bring this up. You look at his stats, you look at Marcel's stats, very similar. The difference is DJ won big games at the end of the season. Marcel lost big games at the end of the season. We can all say that Marcel did not cost the team some of those losses in November, right? And DJ probably won some of those games for Florida. So I understand it. He was highly coveted. We know, I mean, A&M wanted him at one point, right? So there are many reasons to put him on that list where he is. But all that being said, you look at the numbers Marcel did, and I think the Aggies are going to be a better team than Florida. So DJ number 2. Number 2, Lenore Sellers. He certainly played like that against Texas A&M. And number 1, Garrett Nussmeier. And like Marcel, in the LSU game, when I talk about Garrett Nussmeier, I saw 2 different quarterbacks. I saw a quarterback in the first half that I thought looked like the best quarterback in the SEC last year. And that first half, I was like, this dude's making all these throws. He's incredible. I'm surprised they're only winning, what was it, by 10 at that point? I think it was 10-0, whatever it was at the half. Maybe it was 14-0. And I was like, this guy is fantastic. And then in the second half, with a little bit of pressure, he looked horrendous. He's your number 1 quarterback. And of all those quarterbacks, Lenore Sellers scares me. DJ Lagway scares me the most. But Lenore Sellers has already proven it against Texas A&M.
I would have flipped 2 and 1. I would put Lenore's first, probably Nuss second, and I'm okay with DJ Lagway there in the top 3. So that's a good list by Connor O'Gara.
But I am actually surprised that Marcel is coming in at number 6 right now. Not because I don't think he is the number 6 quarterback. I actually haven't made my own list. I don't know.
You just don't think
I just didn't think he was going to get that
enough.
Because what was Connor getting?
National media, I should say.
What was Connor Wigman getting last year around this time? Around 6 to 8 as well, right?
I remember it being at SEC Media Days last year. There was a lot of talk that he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. So I think he was like top 8 for sure.
He was definitely top 8, but I think he was in that 5 to 8 range on most of these kind of lists, right? With the potential to be the best of the group, right?
Yeah.
But some of the questions were not about Connor. They were more about the skills, the weapons around him, right? And can the offensive line protect him? And he's coming back from injury. You know, Marcel's coming after, I think, a solid performance in the Vegas Bowl and really some encouraging moments last season. Very encouraging moments from a quarterback that I don't think anybody expected anything from last year, and he took over that starting gig. All right, let's go around the room. We already said hi to Nick. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kaylee Dreyer.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. What's going on in your world?
So this past weekend, the Texas A&M Track and Field team swept all the pole vault podium spots on both the men and women's side. Alexander Solovov was the first on the men's as he moved up to number 4 on A&M's all-time rankings. Leo Bowen and Jackman III followed him with second and third place finishes. The Aggies ended with 8 first-place finishes on Saturday during their trip to Rice.
Excellent stuff. Thank you. Let's get one more update, if you don't mind.
And then another update on Texas A&M men's tennis. They will host the first and second round of the NCAA championships here at home, being selected as the number 16 overall seed. Baylor, Nebraska, and Rice are the 2, 3, and 4 seeds in this regional, and the Aggies will look to take on Rice in the first round.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Hunter Day on the YouTube page says Garrett is not number 1, talking about Nussmeier. But who is number 1? Like, really, like if you were to, and we can kind of talk about that throughout the show, and when Billy's on with us on Friday, we'll certainly revisit this. But like if there isn't no matter who you put at number 1 in the SEC right now, A, it doesn't matter. It's freaking April 30th. And B, like there's so many other, like I can poke holes in everybody. Could Arch end up being the number 1 quarterback when it's all said and done? Absolutely. Could Gunnar Stockton? I don't think so. Could Simmons? Could, like, there's some Ty Simpson potentially with that system with Kalen DeVore? Yeah, I mean, there isn't a perfect answer on this. And that's why I was happy to see Marcel in the top 6. I think he was in the top 5 in the yesterday one. So we'll hit a break. Let's talk to Scott Livingstone, Ball 5 podcast on the other side, and Aggie Great. He'll talk to us about what we saw last night, what we saw against Texas, and what we need to see against LSU. Talking about 1775. No jokes because OB is not here, so I can't make it awkward for everybody. But what I can tell you is they do it right. Barbecue done the right way. If you're craving authentic Texas barbecue that doesn't cut corners, it is 1775. That's your destination. They smoke only prime meats and prepare every side and dessert by hand, the real way, the way Texas barbecue should be done. They've been featured in all these awesome magazines, from brisket to pork belly, burn ends. Every bite showcases their commitment to quality. Online ordering available until 10 a.m., and you can call them up at any point. They're open on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? Experience the difference with Texas barbecue. 8203 Raymond Starcer Parkway in College Station. Call them up, 979-492-6241, or go to 1775txbbq.com. We're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. We go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline, our good friend Scott Livingstone, to break down a little baseball, the legend, the Ball 5 podcast, you name it. Scott, what's up, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, man. Appreciate it. Got some coffee, but I got some dogs at my feet, maybe some weather moving in, so hopefully our connection stays strong.
Yeah, man, and I know it's super early in the morning. Usually we do these hits a little bit later. I'm glad that you can join us. So, yeah, they won yesterday. I expected them to. If they lost, I wouldn't react a certain way, like it's whatever. And I hate to be at that point. I'm still very disappointed about what happened over the weekend. I still don't think it changes the way I see them this season, right? Like, they've got to take care of business. Had they won that one, it would have been easier. Doesn't matter. They got to now win this LSU series or find a way to start winning series again. What was your takeaway from the last few days, including yesterday and the weekend against Texas?
I wasn't that disappointed over the weekend as far as the losses, obviously. I mean, they play well. They play well at home. Texas does. And, of course, being a rival, yeah, that bothers you. Obviously, that's going to eat at you. But, I like the way our starting pitching went. I mean, I would put our three starters up against anybody in the league. There might, Liam Doyle, Tennessee, they might be considered a number one team when he's pitching. But, other than that, I kind of you can look at all the numbers and analytics and stuff, and to me, it's an eye test for me. I watch the hitters, I watch the pitchers, I see how they're pitching, see how they're throwing, see how they're hitting and taking approaches like that. And I just think everything's just kind of jumbled. And, like they said, one play could go our way and it didn't. And, we had a few miscues, but that's what happens in those tight ball games. It's whoever makes the fewest mistakes is going to come out on top. But, yeah, to see him get back in the swing of things with Lamar, that was good to see. I mean, that's kind of what Tuesdays are for, to kind of get you back straight in line. And but yeah, I think they should feel good. Flush it, as they say, and move on.
Yeah, no doubt. Talking to Scott Livingstone here on TexAgs Live. How about this tear that Caden Sorrell has been on since he rejoined the team? And I saw this number: 9 home runs in his last 19 games. He comes back, the offense awakens. And he's just not stopping, man.
I tell you what, it's been said before on the broadcast, and I've heard the guys mention it, but he does have one of the prettiest swings that I have ever seen. And I've said it before on this show before, is that I am super hard to impress, very hard to impress on the baseball field, and I'm impressed. I mean, this kid can do it all, and just to see his calmness at the plate and his approach at the plate, and fortunately, I think I'm going to have him on tonight for the podcast, so I'm looking forward to talking hitting with him. But, just what he's injected into that lineup, I think has just been incredible. And moving him up to the 3-hole, I mean, I like that. I see the idea of putting him up there to get him to hit sooner or in the first inning. But, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to, like I said before, hitting him leadoff or hitting him second, because he may get 5 at-bats in a game instead of just 4. And so it's a situation where, I mean, he's on fire. He's on a tear, and you got to take advantage of it. And I really enjoy watching him play.
I don't care who you're playing. Lamar, Little Sisters of the Poor, Tennessee. You get 8 RBIs in a game. That's something to really marvel at. What about Ben Arroyo yesterday?
Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, I think at first he was installed in defense. Whatever he did at bat was a bonus, right? I think that's kind of how it started. And then, but they knew the talent was there. Coach Early was talking about, hey, this guy can really play. He's got the tools. He's got some talent. He's got power. He's shown it. He's got it. And I think it just took a while for him to get comfortable over here because he wasn't starting, obviously. And then when you get injected into the lineup, I mean, to have a 9-hole hitter doing that, I'd say that's pretty good.
What did you think? Did you see when Coach Early got ejected? And I don't know if you saw it, but your thoughts on it. And my commentary early on the show is, I like it. Every once in a while, you know what? Let your emotions out. Like I'm totally fine with it, and especially the way he handled his post-game interview about it.
Well, I didn't see the post-game interview, but as you were asking me that, I was thinking to myself, I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. And sometimes when he goes out there, I kind of wish the guys in the dugout and the coaches would not pull him back. Let him go, man. Go in there and tear somebody a new one, and let's, get into somebody. And I like that. I like the intensity he shows, the fire he's got. And I think, the players, they're going to feed off of that. And, he's going to bat for him because, number one, I don't know why they can't review that play because he obviously touched him on the pocket as the ball came down. I mean, you could totally see it. I don't know why it's not reviewable. But it could have been some frustrations from the weekend and just a little bit of everything to get out. And I was more than happy to see it. I was like, go, man, get it.
Yeah, I was the same way. All right, let's talk about this task at hand, because to get to the quote-unquote 13 wins in the SEC, they've got some work to do, right? They've got another hot team, this stretch that they're on, right? It's just been ridiculous. And, yeah, I know you get Missouri next week, but I'm sorry, that scares me just because of what's still at stake, right? Like what still matters out there. Talk about LSU this weekend and how they can take the series.
Yeah, I think, obviously it's a very important weekend. I think it outside of Texas being at the top of the conference, it seems like the middle teams everybody's kind of jumbled. Everybody's beating everybody, right? I think LSU, if I'm not mistaken, got swept by Auburn. Maybe. I don't know if I think I'm right on that.
Yeah, a couple weeks back.
Yeah, so people are beating each other. So everybody's beatable at any time. And yeah, it's a tall task. They got great pitching. They got great hitting. I mean, they got a lot of really good players, obviously, and they're well coached. And it's just like any other SEC team on the weekend. But yeah, it's going to be a tall task. But I think just, what we did on yesterday against Lamar, it just gets your confidence back up to where at a level where you can start playing, okay, yeah, we had a bad weekend, flush it, let's go, let's move forward. Yeah, 13 wins. We play Missouri, thank goodness, this year. And, that's going to help. I think Georgia's beatable too. I mean, we slugged to the World Series last year. They've been slugging. I don't think they have as good a pitching, but I think they're susceptible to getting beat as well. And, it's a matter of getting hot at the right time. And we ran into some good pitching against Texas. And, I mean, they fought one-run ball games. One thing, one way or another, it could have worked out for us. But, yeah, the LSU series, it's going to be tough. But I'm glad we have them at home.
Well, last thing for you. Speaking of pitching, the pitching seemed to be back, right? The starting pitching, I should say, against Texas. And regardless of how that series played out, if we get that level of pitching, all these series are not only winnable, I expect them to win if they get that level of pitching.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we know what the bats can do. It's just a matter of putting it all together. And, 1, 2, 3 guys, they can carry a team in the lineup. If some guys are struggling, Jace didn't have the weekend that he wanted to have. I think he had a rough night last night against Lamar. But we all know what he can do. He's a threat when he comes to the plate. So it doesn't matter if he's hitless in 10, 15, 20 at-bats. People are still going to be afraid of him and pitch around him and walk him. So I feel confident in this team and their ability, Coach Early, to have them ready. And like you said, with the pitching where it was for Texas, against Texas, I feel good. I put our 3 guys up against anybody because I can't think of anybody else that has the depth at starting pitching that we do.
Great stuff, Scott. Appreciate your time, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Gig 'em. And check out his podcast tonight. Ball 5 podcast. They'll have, looks like Caden Sorrell on the program tonight. So good stuff from Scott. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back. Gary Blair will be in studio, I believe. I believe he's in studio. Nick, is he here already? Awesome. We'll talk to Coach Blair on the other side. He's got his golf tournament coming up, I believe, Friday of this week. So it's this week. We'll talk to him on the other side. Right now, we're talking about Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. If your wheels have been damaged by potholes, curbs, or medians, go see the great experts at the Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. Don't replace them. Just repair them. That's what they do there at Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. Over 2 decades of experience, they want to make sure that your wheel is returned to perfectly safe working conditions so you can show them off, but also feel great about it when you're riding around town. If you've had any experience with them, you know they're top-notch when it comes to repairing everything from minor curb rash to polishing to much more complex jobs like bent or cracked rims. Don't let anyone else touch your wheels. Let them help you because they're going to replace them for you. They're not going to replace them. They're going to repair them for you. Brazos Valley Wheel Repair gives you a free evaluation where it saves you hundreds of dollars. Remember them. It is Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. They offer interest-free financing and offers for first responders. Okay, check them out. The website is bvwheelrepair.com or in person, 508 Burnett Street in Bryan. It is the Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. Here we go. And we're back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. The legend, Gary Blair, in studio here with us. Coach Blair, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning. I'm just trying to dodge rain showers for the next 3 days.
That's right. So I told you I may bring it up. You look great. Like I know you were at the golf course on Monday at Traditions. You'll be there again Friday for your event. But it's Friday, correct?
It's Friday. We have 2 flights, 8 o'clock and 2 o'clock. I've got 31 teams in the morning and 21 in the afternoon. It's going to be a big day, but we also have A&M LSU baseball.
That's right.
And we got the softball. We'll be playing at Tennessee, so it's a great sports weekend.
I want to talk specifically about this weekend for you, but what I was alluding to a moment ago, you look younger than when you were coaching. And you were telling me that you're enjoying the outdoors, you're playing golf, you're doing cardio, you're doing everything.
I'm trying to stay in better shape because when I coached for 50 years, I had all the facilities and I never used them. I'd stay in my office and stress. I'd practice. I'd watch game film. I'd recruit. You do it all and then still come to the Aggie events. Mm-hmm. But now I get a chance to come to everything and be a fan. Try not to second guess coaches, whether I'm watching Steve Denton's tennis or Mark Weaver or whatever. I like to see it all. But I love sports. It's been my life, okay? And why retire to the couch, okay? Get out and work, and particularly people that are fixing to turn 80 like myself in August. Get out and do a little bit of exercise. You don't have to go crazy and do all the barbells and all that, but walk, get involved in something, and give back to the community. That will keep you younger.
Yeah, well, you look great. You sound great. And one thing I appreciate is I see you at all the events. You're always there. And so as somebody who knows the rivalry with Texas as well as you do, this has not been the best year when it comes to the Big Three against Texas, right?
No.
But you've seen that turn before. You've been here where the good times have happened.
When we beat them 11 straight times, I remember that very well. That was also the end of the Jody Conrad era and the start of the Gail Gassenkorf, and that was fun. And there's nothing like competing against University of Texas in every sport. And I think people should enjoy it. It's the Red Sox and the Yankees, okay? It's the Dodgers and the Giants. It's Texas and my Rangers and my wife's Astros. So it's competition, and I love it, and I think people should embrace it. But there will always be ups and downs depending on teams, and now due to the transfer portal and everything else going around. But I love what it is, but embrace those games.
Yeah. Have you given thought, and I'm sure you have, but do you have an idea how to fix everything in college sport? Like
Congress has got to step in.
Yeah.
They don't want to right now. They're trying to stay elected in their 6 terms or however long they stay in. But it has to be done because I don't think we're getting that much help from the NCAA right now. They can't come to a conclusion. And the rules are the rules, but it needs to be fixed. It's out of control. It's a wild, wild west right now. I feel for the kids. I feel for the parents. I feel for the coaches. I particularly feel for the young coaches that are sort of the recruiting piece of the thing. The agents that are out there now, it's all about money right now. And it's not good. It's professional college athletics. But I can go out and I can enjoy it. I'll be at the baseball games on Saturday, Sunday. I've got an event on Friday. I cannot be there. But I'm going to enjoy the game between the innings. I'm going to enjoy every bit of it, and that's what fans should do. But we've got to fix this problem.
Yeah. Let's talk about Friday, the your golf classic at Traditions. How can people be involved and help out?
Well, they can first come Thursday night. at the Expo Center. We'll have upwards to 500 people there at the event, and their tickets just like this. That's the raffle tickets. $30 will get you Roadhouse, plenty of food, and then all the drinks that you want. You're going to have 200 items in the silent auction. You're going to have 12 items. We'll have a dinner with Jackie Sherrill, one with RC and I, another one with the new men's basketball coach, Bulky and Joni. They're going to be doing a dinner at Shipwreck. General Ramirez, retired, his wife cooks Mexican food. We got fishing trips. We got everything.
Yeah.
So come out Thursday night, 6 to 8:30 at the Expo Center. You can just buy your tickets there. And I promise you, you're going to have a good time.
You're going to eat well. You're going to drink well. You're going to see great people. It's going to be fun.
And see the Special Olympians dance. That's the highlight.
That's the highlight.
Shelley Kruger Dance Studio. They're going to get out there. There'll be about 15 of them out there. And we'll have the pick squad out there taking pictures of everybody. But there's no baseball or softball, I don't think, on Thursday. Unless our softball's away at Tennessee.
I think softball starts tomorrow. I believe
so. They're on Thursday.
Yeah.
All right. Tape that game. Come to my event.
There you go. Yeah.
Come back and watch.
And you can check your phone while you're there if you need to know the score up to the minute. How did you get involved with helping the Special Olympics? I know that you're very passionate about it.
My last year at Stephen F. Austin, 92, 93, they asked us to present the medals to the state basketball tournament. They're in Nacogdoches. We did that, and it was the most. I could go over and I could put a sixth place medal on you. And then one of my kids put a first place, and you couldn't tell the difference between the sixth place and the first place. They loved it. So as soon as I got to Arkansas the next year, that was my platform. I did the tournament there for 10 years. Soon as I got here in 2003, this will be our 22nd year here. So 32 years of doing it. And it's our platform, and as coaches, it's our chance to give back. And I've got a great committee that works. And I've got a lot of our athletes are going to be helping. Brett Richards out there. A lot of volleyball players are going to be there helping with the auction as well.
Talking to Gary Blair here in the studio. Coach Blair, let's talk about Joni. And I know it's been some rough couple of years for the basketball program. She's had a lot of injuries, but she's been bringing in some real talent over the last week. I've seen some, 2 transfers over the last week that are really moving the needle.
Right. Joni has worked so hard. She's building it does not happen overnight. It didn't happen for me my first year here. And so people have got to be patient. You build a team like an NFL team builds it through the draft, not through free agent. Build it through the draft. And then what you're doing here as a college coach now, you're having to deal with the portal. You're having to evaluate college players that are 20, 21, and 22 more so than the 15 and 16 and 17-year-olds that I used to recruit. And so it's changing now. You have to look at the junior colleges, the Division IIs, and she's finding some good players. The post player coming in is going to be very good.
Yeah.
And I've read about the little point guard coming in, led the nation in steals. That's what you want as a coach, somebody that can turn the ball over from the other team. And Joni's going to be fine.
Last thing for you, Bucky. Have you got to meet him? Have you seen him? And what do you think?
What a personality. Yeah. I know all the assistants because I was with T.J. Cleveland at Arkansas, and he was playing back then. And then, of course, Kyle was Stephen F. Austin. And I'm just trying to think of all of them. So, and then Mitch Cole. He was here with Billy Kennedy, and so was Kyle, and then Frank Haith coming in.
Yeah.
Now, that's a winner right there. And it's going to be fun. Let them go to work, and that's what I did. I surrounded myself with good people, just like you do. Let them work, let them breathe, and they're going to be good. And then I got my friend down there at Texas, who's the head coach in women's basketball, Vic Schaefer. He would be here Thursday night, but Sydney Carter will be there here, his assistant. But he's out turkey hunting right now.
Good for him. Good for him. Remind the folks how they can be involved on Thursday.
All right. $30 will get you in. All the food and drink, 6 to 8:30. 200 silent auction items. Just buy them at the door and come in. And then we also have the raffle, $100 for 18,000 seat, 4-seater that's streetwise. You can drive it around. It'll be a maroon A&M on the side. But if you happen to have graduated from those other schools who's trying to be A&M, we'll paint it your color.
Coach Blair, open invite anytime you want to come to the studio, sir.
Appreciate it. Let's talk sports.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you, sir. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with a short final segment for the Go Hour. It's TexAgs Live. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, coming to a close, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. We're going to go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center here in a moment. But first, Milliken Reserve, a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. They're committed to treading lightly on that beautiful land that you can find Milliken Reserve on. 2,600 acres of open space, and they got farms and trails and homes. They want to connect families to nature and to each other with an extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape that includes walking and equestrian paths, creeks and ponds, and gathering areas. You want to go there for hiking, biking, canoeing, you name it, fishing. You can do all the outdoor activities that you want to do. Check out the website, millikenreserve.com. That is millikenreserve.com. Kaylee Dreyer, tell me something.
We do have a chat on the YouTube that says, baseball team is in their postseason now. They must win every game possible. If they don't make the tourney, they weren't good enough. If they get in, the sky's the limit.
That's two perspectives right there. And you know what? Who sent that one? Jim?
Bruce,
you're not wrong. I think, and again, I'm thinking about this through some maroon goggles, but I think there isn't a team that would like to see A&M come to their regional. There isn't. I know Texas fans are excited. I don't think Texas as a program would like to see A&M there in a super regional, because we know that it is there. It just hasn't been locked in all season, right? And for the most part, since Caden Sorrell's been back, it has been locked in. Another huge test. Are they the team that we saw for those few weeks before, or are they the team that we saw against Texas? Good, but not good enough. We'll find that out, obviously, over the next couple of weeks. We'll hit a break. When we come back, football. John Harris on TexAgs Live. All right, we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We go to the Buffy's Catering Hotline. We're joined by the professor, John Harris, footballtakeover.com founder, and of course, Houston Texans sideline reporter. Johnny, what up, buddy?
David, how are you?
I'm good. So I wanted to do a lot of NFL draft talk with you, and we'll probably get into that. But I did an opening segment where Saturday Down South ranked the quarterbacks in the SEC, and they had Marcel Reed at number 6. And I made a couple of comments. One of them was that I think if Marcel this season is a top 6 quarterback in the SEC, the Aggies are probably a 9-win team. I also said that Marcel, to me, wasn't the reason A&M lost a bunch of those games at the end of the year. He was not good in the Texas game. But I made the commentary that they lost because they couldn't tackle. And also, there's more areas, right? No Le'Veon Moss changed the way you go about it. But I got a text that I wanted you to kind of respond to. Wixon Ag says, you can't say our issues were not QB related. We couldn't push the ball down the field, and he was a young and growing QB. We do win 9 or 10 games with a proven commodity at quarterback last year. So just your thoughts on all that, because I recognize that he had some issues. But to me, last year was, you won a top 5 quarterback. Of course, it makes everything better. But I think there were some other issues out there that why A&M lost games at the end.
Yeah, I didn't feel like Marcel Reed was the reason that they lost games. Like, I think of that Auburn game, I don't know that Marcel Reed was the reason they lost it. Now, when you have a top 5 quarterback or whatever the case might be, that quarterback can end up erasing some of the mistakes that have been made by a defense that's not tackling well, that's being undisciplined, whatever the case might be. But I think Marcel did, he helped erase that lead in Auburn. And when I look up and I see Auburn had how many points that game? 40. I know it went overtime, I get that. But still, I don't even know what the score was at the end of regulation. That Aggie defense with 3 guys on the defensive line that went in the top 2-3 rounds of this draft, they gave up how many points to Auburn? To Auburn. That was an offense that was absolutely jacked up. So, I know I'm using this one game, maybe against the University of Texas because they have, made a play here or there. That was a damn good, talented Texas defense. And the defense did hold up for the most part, especially the second half. And look, you score at the goal line, you have no idea where that game ends up going. So, do I put that on Marcel Reed? No. He's going to take the blame in some people's eyes, and I think it's unfortunate. But, you think about the quarterbacks, this year. David, who are the 5 quarterbacks ahead of Marcel by Saturday? Who is it, Saturday Down South? Who are the 5 quarterbacks ahead of Marcel?
Yeah, Garrett Nussmeier at number 1, which I have questions about. Lenore Sellers, 2. DJ Lagway, 3. Arch Manning, 4. Diego Pavia at 5.
Yeah, Pavia and Marcel aren't, they're not, facsimiles of one another, but they're similar in how they can hurt a defense. And I guarantee you that Marcel makes defensive coordinators stay up at night because, man, even when things go badly, he can make a play. It's the same with Sellers. It's the same with Pavia. They can make a play. And I think that's where I get excited about Marcel. And look, are any of those 5 quarterbacks that far ahead of Marcel? No, but I think they're pretty good quarterbacks. Glad they didn't put Arch Manning ahead. that would have been kind of interesting because we don't even know what Arch is going to be, and everybody wants to make him the first pick in the draft. I'm going to ask you this, David. I want to get your thoughts. What does the fan base, what do TexAgs most think about Marcel? Do they think that he holds them back, or do they feel like he's got an opportunity to be a pretty good quarterback?
I think both. I think most fans I think the LSU game is kind of like what he can be at his best, right? And then the Texas game, which again, a very good defense, and you couldn't run the ball on 4th and 1, that you make one of those 4th and 1s, that game feels different. All that I get. But I think people are worried, but I think they're cautiously optimistic. And what I've done, Johnny, is I know that DJ Lagway can be top 3 quarterback. I know he can. He's a big dude. He can run. He can throw. He helped that team win games at the end of the year while the Aggies lost games at the end of the year. But you look at their numbers; they're very similar, right? If A&M wins that Auburn game and that USC game, we look at this team completely different. And that came down to a drop pass against Auburn and some defensive mishaps. And then you had the lead with a minute left against USC, and you couldn't stop them. You couldn't tackle. So I think we look at Marcel differently, and I think the fan base does too, if the defense in those situations rose to the occasion.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the definition of team that, sometimes the defense has got to pick you up a little bit. And then other times the offense is going to pick you up. I mean, LSU game is a great example of that. LSU has kind of got it going. Nussmeier's doing some things. But as soon as Marcel came into the game, everything flipped. And it was almost as if LSU didn't even realize, who's Marcel Reed? We didn't even know who he was. I mean, that's the way it felt when he came into that LSU game. So I just think the pressure that Marcel puts on defenses sometimes isn't completely realized, even if he's not throwing the ball down the field. And look, I saw him in that bowl game. The things that he was doing, I'm watching from the eighth floor where I'm doing the game from, and I'm like, there's some good throws in that game. He's throwing with anticipation, and he's doing some really good things. I think he gets better and better as he becomes the bona fide number one, no doubt, not getting yanked out of the game guy. And I feel like when you go into a game as a quarterback or just any position really, and you're looking over your shoulder like, well, when is the other guy coming back? When is the other guy? Is coach going to put me in, or is the other guy going to play? I mean, even going to the LSU game, it wasn't 100% that I knew that Wigman was going to start that game. That was still kind of a little bit of a mystery. Well, Marcel's got to think, okay, well, I got to be ready to play, but then is he going to play? That's seemingly out the door this year. I think you'll see Marcel settle in a little bit more, and I think you'll start to see him do some pretty good things. But those quarterbacks that you mentioned, it's not as if, okay, there's this top, two, and then everybody, there's this big gap. I mean, I think those guys are probably, all very closely rated to one another. I mean, if I were to do that exercise, I think those are the names I would come up with. I think I would put Marcel in front of Pavia, but Pavia's proven it. However, the one thing for Diego is he was the bona fide number one. Like, he got the job and it was over. Like, he was the guy. Marcel never had that opportunity. So I want to see Marcel with that opportunity and see how he deals with that going forward into 2025.
John Harris on the Buppies Catering Hotline. All right, John, let's, by the way, do you agree with me? If he is a top 6 quarterback in the SEC, this team should win 9 games?
Yeah, at a minimum. At a minimum, yeah. I think if he is that guy, then absolutely. As quarterbacks you talked about, I mean, I love Sellers. I think Sellers is going to be a fantastic player who ends up transitioning into the NFL really, really well. I mean, that's the kind of quarterback that teams are looking for now. It's a guy that can create, which I find it's so funny. Andy Reid once said the NFL is like 5 to 7 years behind, what's happening. And it kind of feels that way. Like they were really kind of behind on this whole like dual threat quarterback revolution. And I think Lenore Sellers is going to be a guy that teams in the NFL absolutely love. So Nussmeier can be, to me, hit or miss. Nussmeier's the guy that hits 8 threes in the fourth quarter of a basketball game, or he goes 2 for 19. It's like Nussmeier's like John Starks. Remember John Starks? Without the attitude. He's kind of like Starks. In the 94 finals, Starks in Game 6 was unbelievable. It was like, oh, my God, he's going to win this thing for the Knicks. And then in Game 7, he was like 3 of 3,000. That's kind of the way Nussmeier can be to me. Like, there are games where it's like, man, this looks good. This looks like an NFL guy. And then there are times you watch him and you go, what in the hell is he doing? So, I think there's no quarterback where you go, oh, that guy is so head and shoulders above everybody else. So if Marcel ends up being a top 5 quarterback, or say he's number 6, just, qualitative rankings, I think A&M has got 9 wins at a minimum.
Talking to John Harris here on TexAgs Live. Johnny, let's talk about the Texans draft. Looks like most of the national pundits liked it. I think I'm seeing A- everywhere. What did you think?
Yeah, when you do a draft party and you don't get a pick that night, you kind of, I think people were a little, fans. Larry Stafford, is screaming about a draft pick and what he should have gone up and got Matthew Golden and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, look, man, to trade up, you need two to tango. And we had heard after the draft that, they were trying to trade, the Texans were trying to trade with the Cowboys and to get the player that the Cowboys actually wanted, but the Cowboys wanted picks this year and apparently picks next year or something like that. And so the Cowboys, they stuck with where they were and ended up going with the guy that I wanted all along. And that was Tyler Booker. So that was kind of a double whammy. I think Dallas had a good draft. I mean, that was a good pick at 12. And I find it fascinating. You're talking to Nick Casario. I did an event with him last night. He's like, man, these mock drafts, they come out and they've got these guys rated. And he goes, they had Kelvin Banks falling to us at 25. And Nick was very, quick to say, that's not going to happen. That he ain't getting to 25. And I think, especially with offensive linemen, they just weren't getting there. So they were very active trying to get up. They were trying to talk to teams in near and around the top 10 to get Banks. They were trying to get Booker. It didn't happen. All the players they pretty much wanted, they thought that they wanted seemingly were off the board. So draft 101 tells you go ahead and trade out. So they traded out. They got down to 34. And essentially with the 25th pick, they got Jaden Higgins from Iowa State, which I thought was a great pick. And I think they ended up, it was either Woody Marks or it was Jalen Knoll, teammate of Jaden Higgins. I'm like, man, if that's what you turn pick 25 into, I'm all about it. I mean, that's a great move. So we got offensive help. There's some people squawking about, well, we didn't get a guard. And I said, look, if Ariante Ursery ends up being one of your top 5 linemen, they'll find a way to get him in the lineup. You're like, look, you're too good. You're going to play guard. I mean, if that's the way it goes. So, training camp will kind of set all that out. But I think for the most part, most people are pretty happy about what they did and how they handled it. Look, you're at 25. It's a whole choose-your-own-adventure novel. But as we're watching it, I kind of felt like going in, there were 2 guys that I really felt when I went home that night, if we got one of these 2, I'd feel good. Now it's Booker and Golden, and then a little bit down the way, Donovan Jackson. And, man, we're sitting there at pick 22, and Golden and Jackson are on the board. There's only 2 picks in front. Like, we're getting one of them, and then the 2 teams in front of us take those 2 players. So it made for an uninteresting, I guess, Thursday night. But I thought they did well on day 2, and then came back in day 3 and got one of my favorite players in the whole draft in Woody Marks. I was really excited about that. So overall, I felt like they found offensive help. They needed to come out of this draft with offensive help. I feel like they did that. Defensively, I felt like there were specific things that they needed and were looking for. And I think they found those in the 2 secondary guys they drafted, Jalen Smith and Jalen Reed. So if you were a Jaden or a Jalen, you were coming to Houston, that's for sure, in this draft.
Johnny, I think we've done enough on this show talking about the Shedeur Sanders situation. But I want to ask you, you talk to NFL execs, you talk to guys all around the league. Was it surprising that he fell to you based on some of the intel, not necessarily the talent, but some of the behind-the-scenes things that were reported afterwards?
I've been in an NFL building, and I know it's only been one NFL building, but I've gotten to know people around the league in a lot of different capacities. I know people in scouting departments around the league. I know how this league is. And the teams just ask you to do one thing, and that's, treat the process, positively. I felt like, Will Levis was a guy that I remember him coming out, and I was really torn because I was like, he's inconsistent. I don't like him. But he went into the interview process and he appreciated it, and he was positive about it. He did his homework. He did what he was supposed to do, and he ended up being a 2nd rounder. If Will Levis had shown his backside, Will Levis would have been a 5th rounder too. It's all about how you approach the process. And if you walk in there entitled, thinking that you know what the process is, well, you're going to tank this interview because you don't want to go to this team, whatever the case might be, you're going to have a situation like Shedeur Sanders happen to you. And look, everybody's talked about, well, Eli Manning and Archie Manning did this. Yeah, and the Mannings took help for it. they caught a lot of hell back in 2004, but a lot of people don't, they don't want to make it that way. Look, I said this on the draft show, and I believe this. Helicopter dad Deion Sanders failed his son badly. Very, very badly. He didn't get him an agent. He didn't get him the people around him to tell him the truth. And I think that's been part of the problem with Shedeur, is that when Shedeur didn't want to hear the truth from Sean Lewis, the OC at Colorado, Shedeur walked to Daddy and Daddy fired him. And that's kind of been the way that Shedeur Sanders has been around has done in Colorado. When Shedeur got sacked a bunch of times at Nebraska, and he was asked in the press conference, well, you know what happened? What did Shedeur do? He pointed a finger at Dylan Raiola and said, well, he had time to throw. There are things that Shedeur Sanders has done that to NFL people you just don't do, especially if you're going to be the face of the franchise. It all kind of manifests itself in this is how you go about your business. If not, you're going to end up in the 5th round. Now, look, there have been plenty of people that haven't had agents that have been successful, but they've also treated the whole process and been professional about how they've gone into interview rooms. They didn't get there on a Zoom call and kept their headphones on playing music the whole time, not even paying attention. I mean, the stories that we've heard about how he treated the interview process and how he went about that, abysmal. So I'm not saying you got to go in there to every interview and kiss everybody's ass and tell them, oh, you guys are the greatest team ever. But they at least have to be professional about the process. And then when you are asked, here's an install, this is what we're putting in tomorrow, be prepared, come ready tomorrow, and you don't, no, man, that's not going to work for anybody at all. So there were just a lot of things that were, I've kind of alluded to something that happened to me with Shedeur, and kind of proved to me that this whole thing was beneath Shedeur, at least the way they looked at it. And the NFL was like, no, everybody that comes into this league goes through this process. You're not bigger than the league. You're not bigger than this organization. You're not bigger than 32 organizations. And they thought they were. And that's where helicopter dad Deion Sanders needed to step out and an agent step in and say, hey, do you know what people are saying or thinking about you? Do you know? Because you can then do an about face. You can change. You can ask for another interview with the team and say, hey, this went badly the first time. And I give you this as an example. Tenero McMillan went to Carolina after about 15, 16 trips he had taken. He was exhausted. And he's not a vocal guy. He can kind of go within at times. And so in the interview with the wide receivers coach, it kind of went that way. He got very quiet. He didn't say a whole lot. The Panthers got together and said, hey, we like this guy. Went to the wide receivers coach and said, hey, can you do another Zoom with him in a couple of days? Just let him go home and just settle and relax and just have another interview with him. Okay. They had that interview. Wide receivers coach walked out of that interview and was like, yeah, he's the guy. We need to go draft him. And so it was just a different way of looking at it. But T-Mac had to make that adjustment too. And he did. So if you have an agent, the one kind of pushing that, if you have an agent or somebody close to you that can advise you, and I said this about Deion. When's the last time Deion was in an NFL building? How does he really know what happens? He knew what happened in the 90s. I've been in this building 11 years, and I've seen things change over 2, 3, 4 times how they do things. And so I love it when, and I say it sarcastically, I love it when former NFL players are like, well, I was an NFL player. Yeah, 15 years ago. You know how much has changed? Right now. And if you haven't been in that building, man, you don't know. You have your stories, but you don't know. And I feel like Deion went in thinking he knew the process, he knew how it was supposed to go, and he didn't. And he didn't have help for his son. His son didn't make it any better, acting like he was an entitled brat. So he fell to 5th round, and we'll see whether he has an epiphany about it or he continues to do the things that he's done. And if he continues to do the things that he's done, he'll be playing in Canada very soon.
Johnny, a quick short one here for you. It's actually not a short one, but we'll make it short. I don't care what Bill Belichick does in his personal life, if he's dating a 22-year-old, if he's dating, I don't care. Where I do care, well, I don't care because I don't care about North Carolina. But if I was a North Carolina fan, where I would care is if it's causing issues in the building. And now there's a lot of reports that North Carolina is a little concerned about his whole girlfriend situation. It's so weird to look at Bill Belichick as that, considering the way I've looked at him the last 20-something years, 30 years, 40 years. Just any thoughts on the Bill Belichick situation?
Knowing Belichick, I'm going to say as I do, because I've known so many people that know Bill and how Bill goes about his business, I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked that he would let anybody near his program the way that he has allowed this woman to dictate within his program. And I know for a fact that she's more involved than just the PR side of things. I know for a fact, because I had a good that was working at North Carolina for Mac Brown. And as soon as Belichick landed, he started getting emails from her asking for all the recruiting tape that he had and from her, and getting all these things. She was demanding all these different things from him. And he's like, who the hell are you? So he got a pretty good influence, and I'm just shocked that Belichick has allowed that.
Johnny, you got to drop it there, man. Thanks so much, buddy.
Yeah, man. Love you, bro.
Love you, bro.
See ya.
That's my family right there. John Harris. We'll come back. I believe Pat Henry is in the building. Am I right? Is he here? All right. We'll talk to Pat Henry on the other side. Daily Company, family-owned and licensed insurance business. They offer HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and generator services. That's available 24/7. When we talk about HVAC, we're talking about thermostat repairs, refrigerant leaks, furnace failures, and seasonal tune-ups. Of course, the plumbing that they do, the leak repairs, the clogged drains, the electrical wiring, the outlet repairs, and the generator repairs, maintenance, and installation. They serve College Station, Houston, and Austin. They've got upfront pricing with no surprises. Contact them at 979-2060-2020. That's 979-260-2020. Or visit them online at godaily.com to experience the daily difference. Daily is spelled D-A-I-L-E-Y. It is Daily Company. been weird. I think it's been like 2 or 3 weeks since I've seen Coach Henry here on TexAgs Live, at least in person. I've seen him on television.
That's a good thing.
Well, I love our conversations. This is brought to you by the Brazos Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store, and your local source for Viore athletic wear, duck camp apparel in Century Square, below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Coach Henry, hello.
Yeah, good to be in here.
Happy to see you. So, Penn Relays.
Yeah, we had a really good effort.
Yeah,
we
talk
did.
about that.
And I had another group at Rice on this weekend. But I think we ran 11 relays at Philadelphia and Penn, Penn Relays. And so we should have, would have, but we won two of the relays up there, and that's big time for one school to win a couple. That's big. And we won a 4x1 and we won a 4x4. On the ladies' side, the 4x1, on the men's side, 4x4. So we had that's a successful meet in that environment. When you think about the numbers of schools and what's going on up there, we're talking this stuff that when there's 70,000 people in the stadium, and most people don't think that happens with our sport, and it does.
Can it show you what an athlete's going to be like later in that environment? Because it is like that the attention, the crowd, the atmosphere for the SECs, and of course beyond.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I would go that far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't really like going all the way up to Philadelphia to run in a track meet, but we do because of the environment is you never know what's going to happen. You're in an environment it's on top of you and it's loud and so it's good. It's good to have to do.
On the men's side, on the 4x400, the men are defending their titles, so they're bringing it.
Yeah, we ran well, and we ran 3:02 with a little bit different group of guys. So we have some depth in that 4x1, 4x4. 4x1, we're running well right now. We just can't get the right 40 on the track at the same time. Same with the ladies on 4x4. We can run it real good. I can't get. If one's healthy this week, the next one's not healthy the next week. So it's a challenge right now, and that's the challenge at this time of year. Is you have to be healthy. If you're not healthy, if you're a little bit off in my sport, you're way off. You can't do it. Right. I don't care. I mean, if you're this much off in running 100 meters, it's over. And so that's the challenge, is being healthy, working hard, being competitive, competing hard this time of year, but being able to stay healthy is a huge challenge. And
how healthy are you all?
We're pretty good.
Yeah,
we really are. We probably the women's quarter milers I'm having the most problems with, but everybody else we're doing pretty well with. Sprinters. Cameron Dixon and Jasmine Montgomery on the ladies' side are really running real well right now. They look real good. Jaqueline Scott in the hurdles. Part of that meet, we got right down to the end of that meet. It was cool, maybe a little bit cold. Then it got real warm. I got sunburned. It was that warm. And then at the end of the meet, it was raining so hard on our hurdlers. Our female hurdler, she couldn't see the hurdle coming up.
Yeah,
it was raining so hard. JQ, it didn't make any difference. He just ran. Yeah.
Talk to me about Victor and Deborah. Obviously, they had big weekends.
Yeah, both of them win the steeplechase, and as many people as that are entered in the steeplechase for them to win it. I think they ran 4 heats of 20, 22 people in each heat, and good people from all over the country, and they won both heats. So, yeah, that was a big opening weekend for them, especially Victor. Victor needed that. He's not been healthy, and now he is healthy. So this is good.
Saw a note come by that Carter was named to the inaugural Spring All-State NACDA Good Works team.
Yeah.
Just talks a lot about his character, right?
Yeah. I think Carter's been in here.
A lot. He comes here all the time, yeah.
Yeah, he's a doer. He's one of those guys. He gets out. He talks to people. He's a good seller. He does well, and he jumps 7'4".
Being good.
So
at
he's
both.
a good athlete.
Yeah, and I think that kind of attitude, especially when you can back it up with results, permeates through a team.
Yeah. Yeah, no question. And you really don't want big talkers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we want doers.
And he's a doer.
He's a doer.
Let's talk about Alexander. Climbs up the school's all-time pole vaulting list, and he looked good.
Yeah. And especially at Rice to jump that well. He jumped 18.4.5 down at Rice, and that's a huge jump. And he's just gaining a little bit more confidence. To jump really high, your runway's got to change. And he's starting to go from a longer runway right now, and he's starting able to handle that. You only, it's like high jump. You only or vault. There's only so many times down the runway you can be strong enough to do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you get up around 8 times, 9 times running down that runway full blast, not many people can handle that. And so the bar starts at 16 foot, and there's a lot of guys jumping at 16 foot. Well, he's sitting around waiting for 2.5 hours to jump.
Right.
That's also part of the problem. You know, that's what you have to learn to deal with.
Alumni Muster Weekend coming up. Talk to us about it.
We have about a dozen schools coming in. It's our last home meet. After this one, we have a week off, and then we go to Kentucky for the SECs. Mm-hmm. Then we got a week off, and we have the first round NCAAs are here. And then we got another week off, and then the NCAA championships are up in Eugene again. Yeah. So last home meet, last time to kind of clean some things up, get some people the opportunity to make the SEC team. We still have some challenges in our own group. Who's going to be in the top in 30? We can only take 30 people. So who is going to be in that top 30 of people that we think are capable of being successful at the SEC meet? So this meet becomes very, very important for a few people. Some levels of consistency, showing consistency, and this is another opportunity to show consistency of effort. That's part of being able to make that team.
Do you like the way you're trending?
Yeah. This is a good group. Well, I mean, you know, we won SEC indoors, so we have an opportunity to be successful outdoors. It's just going to, you know, everybody's got to have a good day on the same day.
On the same day.
We talk about that all the time. You know, it's good day, same day, and you know, every single meet. I know I repeat this every time I come in here, but it's just a rehearsal.
Right.
We don't have any season. Nobody keeps tally of how many times you won the pole vault. You have to win it at that meet to advance to the next meet and then to the next meet. So now is when the challenge starts.
Coach Henry, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate you very much as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to the Brazos Running Company. We'll hit a break. Trisha Ford on the other side. We'll have her here in studio right now. If your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, you need to reach out to the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies together of all ages during marquee events held throughout the year. We're talking about Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, and The Gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities to get your brand in front of those attendees. And they offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. These options include title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, and recognition in social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for the last 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. A little late here on TexAgs Live. That's okay. Trisha Ford in studio with Kay Nagley. We're talking a little Aggie softball. Coach Ford, thank you for coming in.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
So, not the weekend we wanted.
Nope.
But a weekend that most SEC teams experience because it's the SEC.
Yeah, there was quite a few games that were surprising this weekend, and we didn't play well enough, to be honest with you. We didn't execute. That's what happens, and they caught up to us. So we definitely tried to make a comeback, and we fought hard, but just came up short 2 games this weekend. So it was nice for us to bounce back on Sunday for Senior Day and just play our brand of softball.
Losses are obviously never good, but especially, luckily, y'all have won enough games early on that they're not too detrimental right now. Just, do you think that somewhat added a little bit fuel to the fire, especially going into the last regular season and then postseason?
Yeah, I think, we talked about it yesterday at practice of just resetting and what this weekend looks like for us. And just like, we are good enough. You just have to show up consistently. And that's the biggest thing is, you don't need to be anything else but who you are, and that's really good. And so owning who you are and making sure that we're executing at a high level is what we need to do.
How about Emily Kennedy pitching in those pressure moments and she kind of lives for it?
Yeah, she's, I could talk for hours about her. She's a gamer. She's somebody that has just done a tremendous job. And how much have we seen? So Emily Kennedy is a senior. And how many times have we seen that she pitches better on day 2 of teams seeing her? Like, that's incredible. I don't think we talk about it enough. And it just goes to show you how elite her stuff is. And that's who they're prepping for the whole entire week is how do we beat Emily Kennedy? How do we beat Emily Kennedy? She comes out on Friday, throws a good game, and then on Sunday absolutely shoves it. It says a lot about who she is.
Let me follow that up because to me that's the interesting part because that is the case with quarterbacks, with pitchers, like when they see you a second time, which to me means she knows how to read what they're doing before they do it. She's proactive in that.
Yeah, and I even talk about like when we see a pitcher for the second time, I'm like, oh, we've got this. We've got it figured out. And so to have somebody on your staff that when those situations come up, she gets even better, I just think speaks volumes of her talent.
I want to talk about Mac Barbara. Not only did she have a ridiculous weekend at the plate, she caught as well. Just how do you think that went, especially it was her first time this year and then a long time in her career?
Yeah, so when we recruited her, we talked to her about catching. And so some things have kind of occurred, Ojo going down. I wanted to get a little bit more offense in our lineup. And she hadn't quite caught Emily a couple weekends ago when we were thinking about this. And so we spent the last week and a half of her catching lefty because that's a very different, slot, arm angle, all of those things. And I thought she did a tremendous job. She had great communication with the umpire, great communication with Emily. And so, and then she had a great game. So I think it worked out well for us.
Yeah.
Let's continue with that pressure theme. Freshmen who have had a really good season, Frankie and KK, what have they shown you during the regular season that gives you the confidence, and obviously the proof is in the numbers, but that they can handle the limelight when it comes in the postseason?
Just their process. They're very businesslike, matter of fact. They love to be coached. They work on their craft. All of those things is what we're seeing on the field. Frankie, I don't think we talk about her enough either. Of just she's in the lineup, out of the lineup, in the lineup, out of the lineup. And that's hard for a senior, a junior, a sophomore. We're talking about a freshman. And she just continues to answer the call when her name is called and has just been, we've put her in left field, we put her in right field. She's been a pinch hitter. She's just done it all. And she's just a great kid that I look forward to having here for 3 more years.
We talk about Mac having a little bit of versatility where you play her defensively. Amari Harper as well. I feel like she could play anywhere. Just how nice is that as a coach to know that you have multiple players, if someone goes down, that can succeed at places.
And I think that's been our big difference this year is our athleticism. Our ability to be able to put Amari at second, put her at first, put her in right, and not kind of feel any type of change. Mac, playing first, DP as a catcher. I think that's why we are where we're at right now is because we have unselfish players willing to do what it takes in order for us to win ball games.
Defensively, uncharacteristic errors early, but then clean. So was there some yelling or was it just unfortunate couple
I'm
days?
a very calm person, David. We we did some things in both games, actually game 1 and game 2, that were very uncommon for us this year. Things that, just sometimes rear their ugly heads. We had a nice chat on Sunday morning. We might have canceled video and talked a little bit of just, the things that I felt like we needed to do in order for us to win ball games. And it was really just about recentering, refocusing, and then holding ourselves accountable to the situation, our pre-pitch talk, just some of those little things that I felt we were missing.
This team is 24-4 when scoring in the first inning. How important is it just to get going early?
Yeah, apparently it's really important for us. And it's been weird because every program I've been a part, that's been a thing. And I think, we're kind of we're built to punch first. We're built to keep punching. We haven't been out of any game. And so I think, when you're kind of trying to set the tone and win innings, that first inning becomes really big.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee coming up. Does it feel like the postseason's already started because of the way the last part of the schedule has been?
Yeah, it's, I feel a lot of different things. I feel like, wow, it's already the last, regular season conference series. I'm also like, we have been in the gauntlet for a while. So I think, for us, it's a great opportunity to go see one of the top arms in the country, and we have a top arm in the country, and battle it out. What a great opportunity for us to be able to get in there, be able to see her, be able to face a team like Tennessee, and get us ready for postseason.
Talking about pitching, I know you love your pitching. Carlin Pickens, she has a 1.02 ERA right now. That's just absolutely ridiculous. Also recorded the fastest softball pitch. Just what's it going to take to succeed against her this weekend?
Yeah, I think, what you really have to do is just slow her down. And what I mean by that is making sure that we are not chasing pitches out of the zone. You're going to have to, anybody that's in our game knows you got to be sooner, you got to be slower. If you start to get into a hurry and you start rushing, then the game becomes really fast. So in the box, we have some things that we're looking for. We have to play clean defense. And then, I think from their perspective, offensively, there's some things that we can exploit. So, we just have to go out and play our game and play it hard. And, I think we've got a really good chance, Pickens, everybody has lost at this point in time. We lost this past weekend, but, it's not like she's not been beatable. She's got beat a couple of times this last week, and it's important for us to go out there and really make it hard for her.
Got a chance to win the SEC, but I know you want to take care of business. You can't worry about what somebody else does, but how do you balance the mindset of the players?
Yeah, we don't talk about it. Yeah, we are very much on how do we beat Tennessee. I'm sure, they talk about it amongst themselves. Their parents do, their fans, family. But for us, it's really about business, right? Like we're leaving today. We're going to get on the plane. We're going to go have practice. This is our plan of attack. And we got to play Aggie softball. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where we're at if we don't play Aggie softball.
Right.
Seeing that senior group this past Sunday, I know you hate emotions and all that comes with it, but I imagine it kind of motivates you in a way. Like, this shouldn't be the last time we're playing at Davis, and I don't want to see this group end here. Just what about Sunday?
Yeah, I think, it all starts with Emily Kennedy and Coco Woolley. Those two have been staples in our program, some of the best to ever wear the uniform. And, I think that was hard to see people like Allie Enright and Kramer Echte, who have just poured their hearts and souls into this program. Mac, her dad had a funny, those of you that were there got to see her dad talk a little smack to Mac in his video, which was great. We have Ojo. We just have some really, really important and pivotal personalities and program builders that, it's going to be huge when we have to deal with them not being there. So I just don't think about it. I don't think about the day where I can't write, number 11, Emily Kennedy, or, number 3, Coco Woolley in that lineup.
Yeah. Coach Ford, we appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
All right, we got to hit a break here. We'll come back with a short final segment of the 9 o'clock hour. It's TexAgs Live. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olin wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. Welcome back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We had Pat Henry here a few minutes ago, and we didn't actually give the particulars of when the meet starts. Kayla, you've got that for us.
Yeah, so as Pat Henry said, they have the alumni muster meet this weekend. It's on Saturday, May 3rd at 2:15 p.m. at EB Cushing Stadium.
Yep. Go support softball. Obviously, we had Coach Ford in studio. Huge series with Tennessee. And I know she didn't want to talk about it because she shouldn't. She's got to focus on it. But just so everybody understands here, A&M is 14-6, right behind who? Oklahoma, who is at 16-5. Oklahoma just took care of business against Texas this past weekend. That was a big series. That was all over the TV. And but right now, both A&M and Tennessee with a chance. Both with a chance because Tennessee's at 14-7, A&M's at 14-6. Obviously, Oklahoma would have to lose, and A&M would have to capture that one game deficit, but that is all possible. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Ryan Brauninger will join us with a little recruiting country. We'll talk some baseball as well. Right now, maximize your ranch's potential with Bird Dog. Had lunch yesterday with Jonathan Lusk and Chance McClain. Great to hang out with my friends, and they got to just kind of meeting of the minds, figure things out. Bird Dog is revolutionizing ranch management and hunting access. They're Aggie owned and operated. They connect hunters with premium hunting experiences. And they've also expanded their services to help landowners maximize their profits with a specialized tax optimization program. Unlock that hidden value on your property. Some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. They've got over 60-plus premium hunting properties, perfect for the novice hunters and experienced hunters. You can learn more about it at birddogit.com. That is birddogit.com. Your ranch represents your legacy. Let Bird Dog help you. And we're back. TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It's time for Recruiting Country, presented by America Momentum Bank, the only privately owned bank headquartered in Bryan, College Station. They are committed to helping the community prosper by offering you a wide array of personal and business banking solutions specifically designed to help you build financial success with confidence and momentum on your side. With that, we've got our good friend Ryan Brauninger in studio. Bronny, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. You know what I got to do this weekend? I'm trying out for the Houston Texans cheerleaders.
Oh, congratulations. How's that going?
I don't know yet. I try out this weekend.
Oh, is it only? I thought it was like a series of tryouts.
No, it's just one big day for me.
Okay.
I'm actually going to miss the LSU series this weekend. To kind of, it's Saturday afternoon, so I got to get prepared.
Yeah.
Really good and stretched out.
Yeah. In fact, I got an idea. We've got the holistic planning cool zone. You can.
I don't want to put anything on tape.
Okay.
Right. I don't want them to have any kind of, and I also don't want my competition to know how good I'm going to do. It's funny because the joke, the jab here, the person that we were jabbing at walked out of the room.
Maybe by design.
Probably so.
We might know somebody who might know somebody who might be trying out. Anyway, how are things, buddy?
Oh, good. Yeah, it was a good night at the ballpark last night. A lot of fireworks on the field and off. And, and I wrote a long article yesterday on,
I read that. It was
on
very
recruiting.
Good.
And I think that's something we need to dive into because I think the subject matter, given the period on the calendar that we're in, heading into the summer, and what's top of mind in terms of football recruiting right now is the transfer portal. So I think we need to get into that.
So quiet portal window, and I think you mentioned, 2 SEC schools not making any additions, A&M being one of those two. Kind of by design?
Well, we'll see. And I said they haven't made any additions so far.
Yeah.
There's still an opportunity for them to go out there if, I guess, they're combing through the portal and they maybe find a name that they liked, but they're going to go back in and watch and do more study and homework on. They made additions to their roster about this time last year still. Like there was, I think, Jacob Bostic was in May. I'd have to go back and look at all those spring transfer portal additions. And, the premise of my article yesterday was that it's interesting, right? Like, I think the roster, I would have liked to have seen them address specific needs. But on the other hand, I understand how difficult it is to go into this spring portal window, especially since the quality in it was not as great as a lot of people anticipated. And who knows if that Nico Iamaleava situation scared a number of kids from getting into the portal because Nico went in looking for a bigger payday and got way less. And not only did he get way less from a NIL collective, but then he's going to go play in California where the state taxes are also going to hit him. So you look at the difference about what he would have made at Tennessee if he'd have kind of stayed with the deal he had compared to what he's going to get at UCLA. And it's pretty massive difference in terms of the dollar figure. So maybe that scared a lot of kids from jumping into the transfer portal. So you factor that in, and then you look at A&M's specific needs, big outside receiver, defensive tackle depth, and maybe linebacker depth. I think those were the 3 spots going into this spring window that we were looking at and going, okay, like that's where we could see A&M make additions. So given all that, you go into the transfer portal and you're kind of at the mercy of the talent level that's in there. And then you got to start asking questions. And I have to imagine that these are being asked behind closed doors, not just at Texas A&M and the recruiting offices, but all across the country is like, all right, what do we need? What's in the portal? Like, are there talent? Is there talent? Is there measurables that fit what we need in the portal? And then going out and recruiting those guys. Let's say, okay, you need a big body defensive tackle, right? How many guys in that spring transfer portal window are willing to come in here and be a 4th or 5th option at a position? That's tough. Right. That's beyond like just recruiting them and selling them on Texas A&M. To me, that's even beyond, just pay them whatever. I also think that's a really dangerous road to go down, as if you just say, hey, we're just going to pay this guy whatever because we need a 4th or 5th defensive tackle. I think you're setting yourself up long term to be in a really tight spot. And so, it's crazy that this is part of the conversation, but what is the price tag for all of these players? Right. Big outside receiver. A&M has a need, or is it a desperate need? Because there may be somebody that has a desperate need that will double whatever.
Sure.
They may need a 6'2", 6'3", 310-pound defensive tackle to be their 4th or 5th guy. But do they desperately need it? Because somebody that desperately needs it will overpay for that position. Sure. So, again, like there's so many extenuating factors.
Let me follow that up, because not wanting to overpay, but maybe having money that you could use, right? So, like if you have some money that, look, if we can get it at this price point, we should definitely
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, again, that price point is determined by the necessity on your roster,
right,
and how badly you need it. And for A&M, again, they could make additions, but at this point they haven't. And that you never want to be definitive, especially now, given the nature of recruiting, right? Like you can't say, oh, they're not going to make any more roster additions. They still could. But if this pattern holds and they don't bring anybody in, it's obviously going to open them up for criticism. Like, that's a risk. And no different than any business or corporation in America, especially one that operates with the budget of Texas A&M football or Alabama football or LSU football. Yeah. You are now, part of your decision-making is risk management and risk mitigation.
Sure.
So there are risks to doing it A&M's way. Now,
there's risks to doing it the other way too. Though.
Sure, but again, it's a cost analysis, right? Everything's a cost analysis. So for A&M, one of the reasons that I think they have been okay to stand pat where they are is because of the development of, and this is what I wrote, like, how important is the development of Dalen Evans as that fourth defensive tackle? Mm-hmm. How important is the development of Jordan Lockhart and Tristan Jernigan to provide that linebacker depth? You know, you don't have a bigger bodied true wide receiver on the team, but could Amari Niblack fill that role in certain circumstances? When you get inside the red zone, could you line him up out wide and play some matchup stuff as you get closer to the end zone? So they have pieces on the roster that can answer those questions. Also, they think they hit a home run with that freshman defensive line class, right? Mm-hmm. DJ Sanders, Landon Rink, Chase Sims, Marco Jones. Well, based off what we saw in the spring game, and I know there's no way to extrapolate that out and make that it's not a surefire thing that just because Marco Jones had 5 sacks in the spring game that he's going to be awesome as a true freshman. Same deal with Landon Rink. Like, there's no way to extrapolate that out into real football. Matter of fact, I don't think it matters at all. Well, all we saw is that Marco Jones got some real ability, and so does Rink, and obviously they're very high on the rest of that group. So you're going to lean on them for depth. And I went back and started looking at all SEC teams, all SEC freshman teams. And there's been some big names recently in the front seven that have made immediate impacts in this league. And so the good thing for A&M is I don't think that you're going to need any of those 4 defensive linemen or Noah McHale at linebacker to play significant snaps. Like, you don't have to have them as starters. If they're filling in and they're role players, and I think that's perfect as you kind of bring them along. But all of those kids, all 5 of those I just mentioned, the coaching staff, they believe they got it right with their evaluations. They think they got real players on their hands. So, again, I think that there's still the ideal scenario in college athletics is to recruit these guys, bring them up in your program, let them grow and flourish in your culture, and you're going to get the best version out of them, right? And there's also that risk mitigation I talked about. It's a lot more efficient whenever you have guys that you're bringing up because you get to know their character, their personality, their work ethic, how they fit in the locker room. All these things that we can't see as analysts or even the fans can't see, you get a day-to-day look at the growth of all of these kids, right? And the expectations for your program are not a mystery to these kids, and the practice habits, all these things. And, yeah, it's certainly a risk that your big outside receiver on the roster could be Jerome Miles, a true freshman who's had a knee injury and isn't here in the spring. That's a risk. And if the situations arise in the fall where it's a glaring need, like, man, A&M could really use this red zone threat, this go-getter, this long athletic body on the outside, and you think it's preventing you from making plays offensively, then, yeah, why didn't you go get one?
But is there one?
You know, they flirted with the Ted Hurst kid at Georgia State who's going back. And, again, this is why I don't need to get into the weeds for every one of these recruitments. I'm just going to tell you there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes, especially now with these agents, that the average fan will never know, and they don't need to know, quite frankly. But it's not cut and dry, black and white, just go offer the guy more money and he'll come to school here.
Right.
There's so much more that goes on behind the scenes now. And so they made a run at him. The kid at Incarnate Word ended up going to Tech. He wasn't a big outside receiver. In fact, he was like a 5'11", 6 foot, 200-pounder.
Yeah.
But he had huge numbers last year at Incarnate Word. He ends up going to Tech. But there really wasn't a guy out there other than, they had the kid early from Campbell that ended up going to Colorado. That was very early in the portal window. But A&M was very aware of that kid. I mean, they did as much homework and as much research as they could. and they never made a big push. So there must have been a couple of red flags in that recruitment. So again, it's a risk that they didn't go, there's certainly they've opened themselves up for criticism if it doesn't work out. But on the flip side, what I will say is I understand as good as anybody kind of the processes that have to be gone through with roster management and what is going on in the portal. And you can look around at other programs in the league and say, LSU, Texas, Auburn, they all strengthened in this spring portal window. Well, they had bigger needs than A&M did, and maybe they didn't feel as good about their underclassmen as Texas A&M does. And another thing to factor in is like when you're looking at your budget, and I know there's no salary cap, but on some level there's got to be a line drawn somewhere. You're like, hey, like why do we need to go index on a fourth or fifth string defensive tackle and blow the budget when we think we've got a better player here in Dalen Evans or Landon Rink or Chase Sims, then those are better players than anybody in the portal. And it's going to be cheaper and more cost efficient. And oh, by the way, better long-term for the kid and our program to keep him here and not over-recruit him and bury them any further.
The bottom line is, what are the results, right?
Again, it's what's going to come down to winning and losing football games.
Yep.
If A&M wins 9 or 10 games this year, nobody's going to care.
Nobody's going to care about this. The other thing, we had a guy on the show last week, maybe, I don't know who it was, but basically the numbers are a little bit lower in the spring than they were last year, and maybe that's because of the whole Nico, and I don't think that's it. I just think a lot of these teams are making, there was record numbers in the December window, right? Like those numbers were well beyond last year. So I think a lot of the movement happened then and not as much now because of all the movement we saw.
That could be it, and I think it's important and more than just noteworthy to point out that Texas A&M only had 2 defections, and they were both players way down the depth chart, and Ernest Campbell and Eric Carter. And when they show up for summer workouts ahead of the season, the roll call in each of those position rooms is going to look almost identical outside of Jerome Miles, who arrives this summer.
Right.
But all of the kids that are going through summer workouts are going to have a familiarity with how Mike Elko runs his practice, how Tommy Moffitt runs his weight room, the nutrition plan, the daily expectations. They're all going to know it because they just went through it in spring ball.
Right.
So maybe that continuity and cohesiveness will be good for this team. Again, there's no way to tell right now. And it's going to come down to how do they play on Saturdays in the fall.
Coaches are back on the road. Give me a little update there.
Yeah, it's, once spring ball got over with, colleges let out earlier than high schools do. High schools typically go through May. So contact period's back on, and seeing the A&M coaches get out, and seeing them across the country, seeing them across the state. DFW's been really a hot spot for them. And especially when you look at all the offensive line targets that are kind of emerging in Dallas compared to Houston, where you've just got Avery Morcho at Fort Bend Ridgepoint.
Yep.
That's been your main target in Houston. In Dallas, you've got Zayden Crimpin, Drew Evers, Toa Katoa, John Turntime. These are all DFW area offensive linemen that Adam Cushing is going to spend a lot of time on. And I think we are ramping up again for a very busy summer in terms of commitments. I like what Adam Cushing obviously has done in his time here as a recruiter, like what he's done on the field in the progression of the offensive line. And that's to go back to the transfer portal discussion, there were a lot of offensive linemen that I think they were worried about going in. Not say a lot, but like some guys that they think are going to be good players that are just kind of buried on the depth chart because the offensive line, they return all 7 of those guys that played so much football. And you didn't get one defection out of there. That tells me a lot about the culture of Adam Cushing's room.
Yeah.
Like he's got guys that believe in him, they believe in the system, they kind of like their day in, day out routines as an offensive line group. And so, that should be the strength of the team going in to this 2025 season. But at the high school ranks, Cushing has done a fantastic job. And I know he's kind of looking to I guess that offensive line picture will take a lot more shape, probably in the middle of the summer. Jay Bateman continues to kind of comb coast to coast for linebacker targets. And he was in Florida to see Malik Morris. Tamarian Watkins is a kid out of South Carolina who's played a lot of safety but projects as a linebacker. In-state, still think Texas A&M is making moves in the right direction, and I think they're in a very good position for Tank King at Port Arthur Memorial. I think they're in a strong position for DeQuivis Beck out of Carthage. So the linebacker haul, I think they could even get to 4. You got Storm Miller committed.
Yep.
You've got Samu Moala, who's kind of that edge Marco Jones linebacker role in. But I think the total number of off-ball linebackers could get to 4. And you may have a kid defect if the numbers get that high, but I think there are definitely there's a big enough group of kids out there that they're going to take that like A&M where that number could go to 4. But I also think it's really interesting, and it's something we've talked about. Texas A&M has twice now been to the Woodlands High School to see quarterback Jack Dalton throw. And I'm not saying that they've not changed in their evaluation and their feelings on Helaman Kasuga. I think they love Helaman's arm talent, and it's hard not to love his arm talent. He's an elite thrower of the football. But and then we said it before, you just can't get burned again like you did last year with Hassan Longstreet, where you're, kind of leaves you at the altar 2 weeks before signing day. And
Kasuga knows that we're thinking.
Yeah, and it's all been communicated. And A&M hasn't made some huge push for Jack Dalton. He's committed to TCU. He has consistently put up impressive camp performances and also testing numbers throughout the spring, so much so that it's caught the eye of a lot of programs in the region. And so I think everybody is kind of doing their due diligence going through the Woodlands to see the kid throw in person. A&M did that as well. So it's just another kind of note to make in this 2026 recruiting cycle, the journal of it. And we'll see kind of if A&M needs to make a push on not just Jack Dalton, but any other quarterback down the road if Kasuga starts looking around.
All right, Brian, let's do some baseball on the other side. Right now, we're talking about keeping water local. If you care about this community, I know many of you do, let's talk about the future of Brazos and Robertson County, because there are some out-of-town interests that are trying to eye the waters here. And it's the lifeblood of everything that we enjoy about our area. And with droughts and rising temperatures, people are trying to take away that precious resource. So that's why I'm asking you to consider supporting Keep Water Local. It's a coalition of your neighbors, your local business leaders, and community voices united with one purpose: protecting our water, our future. The truth is, giving away our water means giving away that future, and you can help make a difference because your voice does matter, being together and uniting to keep water local. Visit the website, keepwaterlocal.org. Click Get Involved today. Together, we can ensure that our water stays where it belongs, right here in the community, supporting our way of life for generations to come. Is Keep Water Local.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
What did you say about Dora and Diego?
It seemed like a very influential cartoon for a whole generation of kids.
Yeah, 100%. Good show. It's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studios, Recruiting Country, brought to you by American Momentum Bank. But we are shifting gears to baseball. Bronny, this is going to sound like something you've heard on this show before.
My wife almost got hit by a foul ball last night.
Really? I know somebody that's happened to.
She wasn't paying attention, and it was early in the game, and I knew where she was sitting. She was on the first base lawn with some of her coworkers. Foul ball comes over there. I'm like, that's right at her. And she has got an extensive history with the game of baseball. She didn't play, but her brother played high school and in college and played a couple of years of indie ball. Obviously, she married me, who I've been in the baseball my whole life. So she's been around a lot of baseball, and I was like, let's see what happens here. It wasn't a ball that was hit very hard. She ducked and covered. The ball hit right behind her head on the wall and deflected and didn't get any part of her. So I got home last night, and I texted her when it happened. I was like, I saw that whole thing. We got it on camera. I commented on it on the radio or TV broadcast. And so I get home last night. She's like, can you make sure that that footage is deleted? Strike that from the tape kind of thing.
All right, let's talk some baseball. I made this comment during basketball season. I'm going to make it now for baseball. The Texas series loss sucked. Hated everything about it. It makes life harder. But I don't take away anything from that series that changes what I think this team can do in the postseason, because I think what this team is going to do in the postseason, they're just going to have to play their best brand of baseball like we saw for the last month. That loss sure sucked, but they didn't play a bad brand of baseball.
What they've proven over the last month since that Saturday at Tennessee is that they can beat anybody in the country. They are of the level of the elite teams in the country. Now, when you are playing competition of that level, the margins are so stinking fine that you can have a weekend where you are on the wrong side of every one of those games.
Yep.
I talked to some of the players during BP yesterday before the Lamar game that they were 1,000% convinced that if the Texas series had been played at Bluebell Park, the series is completely flipped on its head and they sweep. So they were disappointed. They were frustrated with the results, and you can't ifs and buts. All that stuff doesn't matter. It's all about outcomes and wins and losses. But I thought they were in a pretty good headspace going into last night, and it showed. That's a good Lamar team. 36 wins. They got a chance to get an at-large bid out of the Southland Conference if they don't win the tournament. And so for you to have the enormous disappointment of getting swept by Texas still kind of hanging over you, and a good midweek opponent come in, and I know Mike Early said they didn't play well. I agreed with him. I was talking about it during the broadcast. They had a lot of really poor swing decisions. They got bailed out by the long ball, which that's what home runs do. They cover up a lot of warts. But to come out and really dominate the game outside of one inning, I thought it was impressive. And one thing about having a solid midweek in Lamar and then LSU coming to your ballpark is it makes you turn the page pretty quick. And I said whenever A&M left Austin on Sunday, you better not let this one linger. You can't let Texas keep beating you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think the schedule got A&M's focus in the right place, and obviously a huge weekend coming up against LSU. And I agree with your sentiment. This team can make a lot of noise in the postseason, but they got to get there. They got to get there, and the road to get there is still paved with some potholes, right? This LSU series,
major pothole this
yeah,
weekend.
they're tough, and they're playing well. They're hot. They're swinging the bat like we know they can. They got an incredible freshman in Derek Curiel at the top of their order, probably going to be conference freshman of the year. We know about Bear Jones and Monster Milam, and they've got some real players in this lineup. And then you look on the pitching side, they start with Cade Anderson, who I talked to a pro scout this past weekend in Austin, thought by far the best left-hander in college baseball.
Yeah.
And that, you look at that statement coming from a scout when there's a guy at Florida State named Jamie Arnold who might go first pick overall. That's a pretty big statement for a scout to talk about Cade Anderson being the best left-hander in the game.
Let's continue talking Caden Sorrell because his hot streak continues. And since coming back, we've seen it transform the team, the lineup, and he just continues to produce.
Yeah, it's what we thought he was going to be coming into the season. And
maybe even a little better?
No, I mean, he was so good in the fall and everything. And you just talk to people in the program, people outside the program that go and watch a lot of these things, scouts, agents. They're like, this kid's the best player on the team. And I said that multiple times. You go back to the fall and like, hey, this kid might be the best player on the team, and that was saying something given the overall talent level. Now, you remove Gavin Grahovic, that's a huge talent piece out of the puzzle, and then you see, I mean, what is A&M's overall record if Sorrell's healthy from the jump? Like, how many more wins is he worth?
5, 6?
It could be. I certainly don't think you get swept by Alabama, and I certainly don't think you get swept by Vanderbilt. Yep. I think you take one of those games in each of those series, and if that were the case, you'd be in a really good spot talking about postseason right now.
The Kentucky series too.
Yeah, and you may win the Kentucky series. So he played in that one though. Remember, that was his first game back.
That's right.
But yeah, I think those first series against Bama and Vanderbilt, sure, and some of those games in the non-conference against Houston, you lost a 1-run game to Cal Poly, you lost to New Mexico State in a tight one. Like, he may have made it. You could be right. It could be 5 wins, but you didn't have it. And we're going to sit up here and play the ifs and buts, all this stuff. They are where they are due to some unfortunate circumstances and because they didn't play a great brand of baseball for a long time. And that's why they got to get 5 out of these next 9 in conference, I think, to get into the postseason.
Last thing, what do you think of Early's ejection yesterday and kind of how it all unfolded?
Yeah, number one, why is that play not reviewable? So by having review in any sport, we have admitted that there's human error involved. And we use replay to try to negate that human error. So if that's the premise, that's what we've admitted, right? There's human error, we're trying to eliminate it. Why not eliminate as much of it as possible? Sure. Why is any batted ball not reviewable? Every element of it. Well, now we've got these Hawkeye cameras. And you didn't even need a Hawkeye camera. You could have used a Fujifilm snap camera last night to tell that kid was tagged out. And so Coach Early went out there, and we have the umpire mics on in the booth, and we can hear the conversation between he and Jeff Head, who was also on the crew in Austin this weekend and was the culprit, the guy that threw Gavin Cash out of the game during that incident on Saturday. So Jeff Head walks over to Coach Early and said, hey, that's not reviewable. And Mike goes, I know, but can y'all not get together and talk about it? Like, try to get the thing right? He goes, well, I'm just telling you it's not reviewable. And then he goes, by the way, Mike, how are you feeling? I could not believe he asked that question in that moment.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, and Mike goes, well, I'm terrible now. Like, what are you talking about? But to me, he was going back to the weekend. Right? Mike was really frustrated with how that crew officiated those games on the weekend. And I think to me that sounds like they carried those feelings over, the umpiring crew carried those feelings over to the midweek, and I think Coach Early was probably ready to move on from it. But it was just an odd question to ask in that moment. Hey, how are you feeling?
Is that something that can be reported?
I mean, it was on, everybody heard it.
Yeah.
Everybody heard it. But no, and then it was funny because before the ball even, the next hitter hits the homer, before the ball's even out of the ballpark, Coach Early is on the field letting him have it. And there's a lot of folks that have said that he doesn't show any fire and emotion in the dugout all year. That's crazy. I've sat next to that dugout. I've heard the things that come out of it. I've seen him get after umpires. Everybody saw what happened Saturday at Texas and kind of his response to that. What a ridiculous ejection. One of the worstly adjudicated incidents that I've ever seen. If that is Texas A&M versus South Carolina, or if that is Texas versus Vanderbilt, nothing happens. Nothing happens. And even the coaching staff on the other side thought that it was one of the more all-time ridiculous decisions to run Gavin Cash out of that game. And not Will Gasparino, the guy who instigated it. So in my opinion, that has to be nobody's ejected. That's what it should have been. We're not interpretive dancing out here. We're playing high-level college baseball. And it's a rivalry. It's going to get heated. So nobody gets thrown out, or both guys get thrown out. But it can't be one or the other.
I agree. Ronnie, thank you, buddy. Yep. Appreciate you. All right, let's talk about Rollo Insurance. When insurance matters most, who's going to answer your call? It's going to be Rollo Insurance. Decisions shouldn't be made in 15 minutes or less like you hear in other places. No, they should be decided right away, with some time behind it. Rollo Insurance builds lasting relationships through education. They help you understand what you're buying and why. They have expert staff that's going to talk you through the entire process, making sure that they find the right insurance vehicle for your vehicle or for your home or for your farm, whatever it may be. They take time to explain the policy, details the plan in plain English, and they ensure that you're never left wondering about your coverage. Many clients have discovered that they're going to take great care of you here in the Brazos Valley because they are headquartered right here in College Station on Highway 6, but they're all over the great state of Texas with over 60 offices, and you can find them all around the country. The website is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Again, that website, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs or 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO. It's Rollo Insurance. When I hear this song, I think of Kendall Rogers. It's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Buppies Catering Hotline. That's where we find Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball. Kendall, good morning, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm all right. How are you, buddy?
I'm hanging in there. I'm a little concerned that this song is called Teenage Wasteland, right?
I don't know. I was just guessing that you liked it. It was a total guess.
Okay, I mean, I do like the song. I just like my song is something with the word wasteland in it.
No, that's not why I was thinking that at all. I was just being random. Hey, thanks for the laugh. I felt like I did a good one there. Let's talk about this baseball team. And the theme of today, I feel like I've repeated several times, is like, look, that Texas series sucked. And for obvious reasons, anytime you lose a series, anytime you sweep, especially to your rival, especially to them in particular, because of what happened. But I have not changed my opinion of what I think this team can do. I don't know if they're the team that beat, number 1 Tennessee and Arkansas, and I don't know if they're the Dragon Slayers per se, but I don't know if anybody is. I feel like this was a weekend that got away from you, unfortunately, but very close. Now it's what you do to follow it up. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but I don't take too much from the weekend. I mean, I think if you look at a series against the number 1 team in college baseball on the road, rivalry series, I get it. Like, people wanted to go, A&M fans wanted to go over there and beat Schloss and things like that. But you know what? He's coming back to Olin next year, so, you can have your moment there. But, I mean, I think from a holistic perspective here, when you look at A&M baseball, I actually felt like they had a very good chance to win all 3 games. I mean, you look at the situation game after game. You were, in position, in the final at bat in the top of the 9th inning to either tie the game or potentially even win have a lead going at the bottom of the 9th inning. So, it's frustrating if you're Mike Early that you're that close to not only winning 1 game, you're that close to winning 3 games. But on the same token, I thought the starting pitchers for the most part over the weekend threw really well. I didn't think Prager's stuff was exceptionally sharp early. I thought it got a little bit better as the game went on. I thought he battled. I thought Lampkin threw well. And Miles Patton, I thought, battled and threw really well also. And that is a tough lineup. That is a Jim Schloss-Nickel lineup where they are going to make you throw strikes. They are going to make you throw good pitches. And the starters performed admirably. I think the bad luck thing for A&M over the weekend is the fact that Weston Moss is under the weather. I think I made the comment to somebody in one of my chat groups that, when he came out of the bullpen, like, man, he doesn't look right. Like, he looks like he's got sick or just a little off or something. And that kind of came to fruition when he went out there and pitched. It just looked like he was a little iffy. So, on a weekend where Weston Moss is under the weather, a couple of guys weren't throwing strikes and you weren't able to get clutch hits, you're going to lose those games. But for me to say that I think any differently from A&M after the weekend than I did before, I would say it's kind of status quo in my mind.
Talking to Kendall Rogers here on TexAgs Live. Kendall, what did you make of the fireworks? Last night's fireworks with Coach Early, and then rewinding to Gavin Cash.
Yeah, I mean, the Cash thing was interesting because clearly something was said by both parties in that deal. So in my opinion, if you're going to, okay, let me rewind for a second. The reason why Cash was thrown out is because he challenged the entire dugout. But you would have thought there would have been a warning on Gasparino there. But, it's one of those things, like, I agree with Early to some degree here. I think in a rivalry game, for that literally to be the only dust-up the entire weekend is actually kind of impressive when you think about it. So, I mean, I would have let that go, frankly. But, last night, obviously, tempers kind of boiled over with Jeff Head a little bit. And, this goes to a much broader topic here, and that's that I feel like across the board that, that the umpiring, specifically the strike zone calls and the SEC have been very erratic. I mean, I think you look over the weekend in Austin, and again, this is not just from an A&M perspective. I thought the zone over the weekend in Austin for both teams was all over the place. Like, there were some instances where, for 3 innings, they were giving, inches off the plate for Lampkin and Luke Harrison. Then all of a sudden, like the next inning, it's a totally different strike zone. And I don't mind a big strike zone but be consistent. And I think whether it's Mike Early, whether it's other coaches around the league that I've talked to, there is a lot of frustration right now with some of the umpiring going on.
Let's talk about this LSU series. Obviously, we know what's on the line. This gauntlet continues to schedule. Let's talk about some scenarios that could play out this weekend to keep them where they are, or maybe even potentially move up in some seedings.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the weekend with LSU, I think the big key is, I mean, you want your starting pitching to do what they did last weekend. It's going to be difficult. I actually feel like overall, with Blue out of Texas, I actually feel like LSU's offense could be more impactful. They're going to be in a more hitter-friendly environment in College Station this weekend. But on the same token, the A&M offensive line is going to be in a much more hitter-friendly environment. So, the big key for me is, does LSU on Sunday go to the same formula they went to against Tennessee? They started Case and Evans, the St. Pius product. As their starter on Sunday, is a guy that had spent much of the year as a freshman in the back of the bullpen as a really good reliever. But they started him. He had one bad inning, but after that, I mean, he was excellent. And so, if they start Evans, I think the big key for A&M will be get into the LSU bullpen, because that Cowan's a really good reliever. But, outside of Cowan, there is not a reliable arm back there on a consistent basis. So getting into the LSU bullpen is going to be the key for A&M. I think I kind of like A&M 2 out of 3 this weekend. I just feel like the Texas series was a little bit of a mirage, given how close they were to winning some of those games. I think they play well this weekend. I think they win that series in College Station.
And if they win that series, sets up another one with Missouri. And if you can have back-to-back weeks like that going into Georgia, I think it kind of changes the way it doesn't erase the Texas series, but it certainly quiets it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, if you're A&M, number one, from a postseason standpoint, if you win the LSU series, you're in the tournament. I think you go in the final 2 weekends. If they lose 2 out of 3 to Missouri, they don't deserve to be in the tournament. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume they sweep Missouri. But if you win both of those series, you're in a really good spot going the final weekend. And I think for A&M too, again, the goal for this team should be getting back to Omaha. I get it, first-year coach, things like that, but the expectation with this talent, this team, is still Omaha. And I think as you look at the broader picture here, which is your expectations and your goals, I think the big key this weekend will be, what is your batting average of runners in scoring position this weekend versus last weekend in Austin? I think that's going to be the big point of emphasis if you're Mike Early and Caleb Longley with that offense.
What has happened to Georgia Tech?
Yeah, it's a great question. We about the midseason mark, we were thinking, okay, yeah, like Georgia Tech, typically they kind of fall apart. But man, they're rocking and rolling. Well, unfortunately for Georgia Tech, they've resorted to kind of being Georgia Tech, which is the pitching's been erratic, and the games that their pitching's been good, their offense hasn't shown up, and so they just lack consistency. But they're a really solid team when they're playing. When both key pieces of their team are clicking on all cylinders. Right now, they're just not doing anything great. And when you're doing that in a league like the ACC, it's going to be trouble.
And I saw that Louisville, stole 14 bases against Florida State?
Yeah. Louisville is a really interesting team. They're very offensive. Eddie, looking ahead to the postseason, if you're watching postseason games, Eddie Keene Jr. is a really exciting player. Lucas Moore, Tate Davis. We've seen so many good freshmen around college baseball this year. He's one of the top freshmen in the country. By the way, if you're at Bluebell Park this weekend, Derek Curiel for LSU, the leadoff hitter, just an awesome, exciting player, really cool kid. He's fun to watch. Hopefully, if you're an A&M fan, he doesn't have too big of a weekend, but he's a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, Tate Davis for Louisville's really good, kind of the guy that gets them going at the bottom of that lineup.
Kendall, let's close out with this. Is your opinion, if they win this series against LSU, now we're talking about potentially finishing out the season as a 2 seed somewhere?
More than likely, yeah. You win the LSU series and you sweep Missouri, you're probably a 2 somewhere. And again, I still maintain that A&M is by far like the 2 seed that you do not want to see in your regional. If you're TCU or you're another team, a Midwest team, UCLA, like that is a team that when your club is sitting in the the locker room and looking at the bracket come across, you're excited to host, but then when you see that, you're like, oh no, So that's just kind of where the team is right now, and I still think they're a club that can absolutely make a run and get to Omaha.
Great stuff, Kendall. Appreciate your time, buddy.
You got it, buddy. Thank you.
See you. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. By the way, it's about to be 10:50. And we're going to hook you up, the first caller, a free Domino's, oh my gosh, Double Dave's pizza from them. They have the pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery. They have piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Again, that's going to be caller number 12, 979-693-1150.
Welcome back in. David Nuño here with Health and Wellness Radio.
Real funny, Nick. I'm going to read the copy and not look at 10 things at the same time so I don't mess this one up. Time for Around the SEC presented by Jaxer. And if you are looking to build your dream home on your lot, let the Jaxer Group help you navigate the entire project from start to finish, making sure your home is perfectly suiting your lifestyle, preference, and budget. Turn your dream home into a reality. Visit Jaxer.com. Don't give me a hard time because I want to live to be 120. All right? Don't.
That's fair. Yeah, I know.
And look good at 120.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to watch what I eat so you and Billy and everybody can make fun of me. Thanks.
Well, to be fair, David, I've made fun of you the least for
That's
your
true.
healthy habits.
Thank you.
Because I respect the discipline, but I
you.
can't match it. But I'll give you a jab every now and then.
Yeah, and I'll jab back. That's how I roll. I'm like Michael Early. You make a mistake, eject me because I'm going to say something back.
Love it.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right, let's end the show with the right stuff.
Okay. Well, I got a quick around the SEC topic, I guess, to get into. I'm going to go over the most players lost in the transfer portal windows for SEC teams combined. So they're combining the fall or the December and the spring window, I should say. And maybe we can just think about, are these teams going to be better or worse given the numbers that they lost? And I know a lot of these teams have added as well, but maybe there's a team that's lost way more than the others, and I think the first one is a perfect example of that. Arkansas, they've lost 38 players.
They'll be worse.
Yeah, they'll be very.
They're going to suck.
Be worse. Oklahoma has lost 37.
I don't know if they're going to be worse. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're going to have
That's a TBD.
That's a TBD.
Mississippi State.
I mean, does it matter? They're the same.
Yeah. Kentucky.
I think
they've lost 30.
Wow. And
Mississippi State lost 34, by the way. I didn't say that.
Kentucky, worse.
Ole Miss, 28. They'll be fine.
They'll be fine. Yeah. Can I get the teams that are worse on the A&M schedule? Thanks. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Auburn, 25.
They'll be better.
Okay. A&M, Alabama, and Missouri all lost 24 players. I think Bama will be fine. A&M is fine. Missouri, maybe
worse.
not. Yeah,
they're going to be worse. They're not going to win 10 games with that roster. No, sir.
LSU lost 23. They'll be fine.
They'll be fine. But I don't think, but fine, like what is fine? Like,
I just don't think there won't be a drop off, I think.
Sure, but if that drop, but Brian Kelly, if he doesn't have a drop off, he's 8 or 9 win team. Is his job in jeopardy the next year? Maybe.
And I'll run through these last few. Tennessee and South Carolina both lost 22 players.
Worse.
Florida and Vanderbilt lost 19 players.
Worse.
Both of them.
Yep.
Okay. Georgia 18.
Worse.
And then Texas 16 players.
I hope they're the worst team in the world. That's all I want.
That's all I got for you.
And I'm sure somebody will say something to me. Why do you always talk bad about us? Because it's my show. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live on a Wednesday. Tomorrow on the show, we've got what? Tennis? We've got, who else? We got a bunch of big guests. Do you remember who we have tomorrow?
Mary Stoyana.
Steve Denton on the program.
Yep. Aaron Torres. Michael Early.
And Pablo
Stephen
Escobar.
McGee.
Bye.